I did not see this one coming. Flare and RealDID Technologies introduced new decentralized KYC solution in Hong Kong. Now, one of you asked me whether this was good or bad news. I'm going to let you know. This is very good news. If you've been watching the episodes recently, you may remember RealDID Technologies and a certain universal digital payments network that they're connected to. And in my reading up on this story, because this came out last night, so I spent the better part of last evening trying to find the connections here, and they are quite interesting. If you're new, let me welcome you to the show. My name is Wade. You're listening to another edition of the DHN Crypto Podcast. I've been in the space since 2019, and I've researched over 1,000 digital assets. The number one reason I run this show is to share this information with the people, because it's not being talked about. All I ask in return is you hit that like button, but don't do it for me. Do it for crypto. Now, before we dive into this story, must share this free PDF with you. If you're new to the space, I can understand that it can be hectic. It can be confusing. You got so many people trying to tell you so many different things. Well, look, I created this 6-page PDF. It's absolutely free for you to download and get a much better understanding of this space. You can look at this document as your pillar, and that way, whenever you get information about any project, you can run it across this PDF and make sure everything is everything. You'll get a criteria to evaluate assets, what I like to call the 5 verticals of crypto, an easy way to define the industry, tools and resources, links to various assets that some we cover on the channel, others we may not, but it'll give you an idea of the good and the bad in the crypto space. Like I mentioned, tools and resources for different news, analytics, data websites, list goes on. These 6 pages will save you years of time. Trust me. So let's get into this story though, because this is pretty huge, guys. Like I said, Flare and RealDID introduced new decentralized KYC solution in Hong Kong. And I must preface this by letting you know the digital currency landscape in Hong Kong is moving at a rapid pace. They got CBDCs coming, and we've covered so many stories in the past about how the Hong Kong Monetary Authority is giving clearance to crypto companies in China. They're the only ones paving the way. And as we're going to learn in this story, they're also getting ready to release regulations, some sort of framework around digital currencies being used on blockchain. Notice the terminology there, very specific. But let's jump into this here. Flare has partnered with RealDID to introduce never-before-seen decentralized identity KYC initiative for mainland Chinese visitors in Hong Kong. The initiative consists of 2 trials. The first trial enables anonymous registration on a regulated stablecoin app. Don't worry, we'll talk about what that is. The second trial facilitates the purchase of tokenized financial products with stablecoins. We've heard that terminology before. Hong Kong is definitely pushing to include tokenized deposits alongside their CBDC discussion. Now, we continue reading here. It says both trials, powered by Flare and RealDID Technologies through China RealDID, will meet KYC compliance while maintaining user anonymity alongside ZK-based anonymity. In other words, once legislation is enacted and production systems are in place, mainland Chinese visitors in Hong Kong would be able to use digital financial services without the need to expose their personal data. So that's a very admirable use case there. A lot of people are concerned with data privacy in relation to digital currencies in general. So they're creating an application that will essentially run like this, where you go to use a stablecoin in mainland China, but you don't want to give out your first, last name, your personal address, stuff like that. You just want to plug into the ecosystem, make your transaction, and then unplug. That's essentially what we're getting here. And they're also going to go into where Flare was implemented specifically. We're going to touch on that before we get out of here. But there's a couple more things I want to share with you to the point of the Hong Kong digital currency regulations. Hong Kong is currently poised to introduce regulations that will allow digital currencies on public blockchains. Once fully launched, This KYC solution would provide mainland Chinese visitors with their first opportunity to legally hold public chain wallets and transact with stablecoins such as HKDA, a fiat-backed Hong Kong dollar stablecoin issued by IDA. That company right there is what's going to take this story to the next level. But I also want to add this. In our members section, we just did another BRICS update where we covered the BRICS Business Council meeting and what they planned on doing. They published a 32-page report for this year, and blockchain was mentioned in two particular places. One, for agriculture, the digital transformation of agriculture, as well as the digital transformation of financial services. In both those sections, they highlighted the importance of incorporating blockchain technology. Not a want, it was a need. This needed to happen, and this is coming from the words of that official document. And I bring BRICS up because where is Hong Kong located? Mainland China. China is getting ready to move into blockchain. That $1.4 trillion stimulus package, it's funny how the market ain't went down since that was announced. Something's brewing there. But let's jump into this IDA company really quick, because this is where things really jump to the next level, right? I was talking about RealDID Technologies, especially last month when Hedera was tied into the system. And how was Hedera tied into the system? Well, I'm scrolling through this website, the HKDA, you can see here, empowering seamless global commerce and payments. The HKDA, fiat reference stablecoin, designed to drive enhanced connectivity for seamless commerce and payments between Hong Kong and the global market. Now, I'm also realizing that this company is fairly young. I want to say within the last 12 months. And we're going to look at who were involved with their funding round in just a second. But I want to show you this right here. They are an acting as HKD node on Universal Digital Payments Network. The reason why that's so interesting to me is because that node list was kept private. I wasn't able to find it through UDPN's documentation anywhere. Now the puzzle pieces are starting to reveal themselves. We know Hedera was incorporated into the UDPN. They'll obviously be managing a node. And now we have this company, IDA-Fi, also acting as HKD node on Universal Digital Payments Network. So if they're incorporating Flare into their system, and they're also making use of the Universal Digital Payments Network services, what we do have is a situation where these payment networks can talk to each other. And that's going to be very important because the UDPN, they're definitely working hard in East Asia. HK's Bank of East Asia tests stablecoin issuance on UDPN. We've covered this story before, as well as UDPN integrates stablecoins and CBDCs issued on the Hedera network. What I'm getting at here is that I feel like this company is going to connect Flare to that Universal Digital Payments Network. And when we dive into the history just a bit on this company, IDA back in September raised $6 million in a seed round led by CMCC Global and Hashed. Interesting players that were also involved in this, co-founder of Solana, Raj Gokul. And as a matter of fact, this is when I learned about the other blockchain entities supporting this IDA company. Aside from providing funding, leading blockchain foundations of Solana, Polygon, Aptos, and Mantra are also IDA's strategic blockchain partners to foster HKDA's interoperability, accessibility, resilience, and liquidity. So for one, here's Solana again trying to break into the big time payments space. But I also like to see this here. This comes from the co-founder of IDA, Mr. Sean Lee. And he says the first goal of IDA is to enable mass adoption and empower businesses to seamlessly integrate between Web 2 and Web 3. To achieve this, IDA has begun active engagements with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and the Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau, as well as domestic partners in the ecosystem, to issue regulated stablecoins in Hong Kong. HKDA, our first fiat reference stablecoin built on public blockchains, will shortly be headed onto testnet. We intend for our mainnet launch before the end of this year and achieve regulatory clarity in early 2025. So not only does this give us the origin of this stablecoin, but we now have an idea of what their plans are. And if they're looking to get approved by the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, then there's nothing stopping this thing once it does hit the market. And as you see, they're getting ready to launch their stablecoin on a public chain. They're aiming by the end of this year. So going by the date of when this was recorded, we only got about 2 months left, if that. So we should see something before the end of the year. And it also makes me understand why they chose Flare and why they also chose this other little stablecoin project. Well, not stablecoin project, but crypto project here in the form of Chainlink. They're integrating Chainlink to enhance transparency of the HKDA. They're also going to be using Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol, which we know that's the protocol that will, as described here, give HKDA users enhanced visibility into the reserves backing the stablecoin through Chainlink's secure and reliable on-chain proof of reserve data. IDA also plans to integrate Chainlink CCIP, which will enable IDA to securely mobilize HKDA across multiple blockchains, ultimately enhancing the token's utility and accessibility. Now, from here, you can look at this a couple different ways. They chose two of the most powerful Oracle networks in the market to support the data behind and the reserves behind their stablecoin. I think that's very strong. And on top of this, because they're using cross-chain, their CCIP, Chainlink CCIP, they can connect to other blockchains. They're using Flare for the exact same thing. Flare is a lot closer to the XRP ledger. Ripple in Hong Kong, all you got to do is tie it together. So it creates an interesting map when you view it like that. That's what I'm starting to see unfold, guys. Now, we need to jump back over here to this story from Sean, where we have the quote from Sean Lee, because I also had to look up Lawrence Chu, which is the other co-founder of IDA. And you won't believe, first thing that I see, ladies and gentlemen, on LinkedIn, okay, Maximus Crypto is not lying when he says you get better alpha on LinkedIn. I've been trying to tell y'all that for years. But look at here. Who is that? Mr. Jeremy Allaire himself, Mr. USDC. Not much to really pull from it. Not yet, because I saw the picture, and of course I went to look for connections between IDA and Circle. And the only thing that I could find was that Circle is planning to make a move into Hong Kong. They just want to make sure the regulatory environment is established first. And according to IDA, that time is coming sooner than later. So if Circle gets involved in this conversation, you would have Flare Networks oracles, Chainlink's oracles, Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol, and then Circle's cross-chain transfer protocol. They have big plans for this stablecoin. And the fact that they pulled in Flare Network at the beginning, that's impressive. That's impressive. And again, keep in mind, very young company here, but they're showcasing an impressive track record through networking, through the assets and the technologies and the applications that they're choosing to use. It's very impressive, guys. I just find that picture to be so interesting. And then you can see who's in the back there. Hedera, DLA Piper, the Hashgraph Association, PricewaterhouseCoopers. If I see Zonix logo, I might have a thing here. Stratford Finance. Yeah. Interesting connections. Don't want to look too deep into it, but if this is the relationship that this company is building, you can't get mad at that, guys. Especially this one. Now, we're going to put on a tinfoil hat just a bit here, okay? Bear with me. IDA and Zand partners together to facilitate blockchain-based cross-border payments in the Belt and Road regions. Ooh, I have not looked into that in quite some time. Listen, if you don't know what the Belt and Road is, well, see, it's a large plan, large infrastructure plan that is being managed by China, BRICS member. And you can tell by this map here. And when I say this is a large scale plan, they've been planning this thing for like 10 to 15 years. Okay. I used to talk a lot about it in relation to VeChain, actually, because VeChain's history places them very close to the players involved with this Belt and Road project. What it's supposed to be is a large scale infrastructure trade network for BRICS nations. And when you look up the documentation on the Belt and Road, it's now called One Belt, One Road. Blockchain is littered all through that thing. When I was looking into VeChain, it led me to Zhangzhou University, where Xi Jinping graduated from, and he has done speeches at his university in the last 2 years where he talks about how China is going to get deep into blockchain. So seeing this again just sent me on that trip. But if they're working in this initiative, what this shows you is that they're supported. That's all that I'm getting at here. And you want to keep an eye out for that in this space, because there is a lot of gas. There's a lot of gas, and it's not just on Ethereum. People will gas you up in this space, man. So it's even more important to be A1 on your research. What I like to look for is patterns. Patterns indicate behavior. And then something else you'll see too on this map is the nations. Now, this map is from 2014. And since then, the BRICS have gotten stronger, and you'll notice the India maritime trade route, Russia economic belt. Let's see here, countries in Africa, maritime route. How many countries from Africa just joined BRICS? Egypt, Ethiopia. Again, I told you the tinfoil hat was coming on. But let me just read this piece here. Through the partnership, IDA and Zambank aim to achieve cost-effective and efficient cross-border transactions across Belt and Road regions and BRICS Plus, providing businesses with streamlined 24/7 digital payments. The update I just did for the members, we talked about who those BRICS Plus countries were. So, if the Flare network is going to be incorporated into IDA's regulated Hong Kong-backed stablecoin, where they have plans on using this stablecoin, not only in Hong Kong, but alongside BRICS Plus members, as well as one more country that has joined the BRICS as in the last 12 months, as illustrated in this first paragraph, Zambank is fully licensed in the UAE. So now you have these markets connected once again. All right, but keep in mind, young company here, they showing some ambitious targets. They definitely got some ambitious targets. And the fact that Flare Network, like I said, is being brought in at the ground level is impressive. And the fact that they chose to go with Chainlink on the other side is just as impressive. So they're heading in the right direction for what I want to see from a stablecoin company. Now, I talked about how Flare will be used specifically, and the component that they will be using is called the Flare Data Connector. I have a video piece of content on the channel where I broke down Flare, the history, as well as how it operates on a technical level. I'll definitely link that video under this one because it's a great explanation if you just want to understand Flare from the blockchain side, from the network aspect. But this Flare Data Connector will be summarized right here. It allows applications to be built on Flare that can use data from external blockchains and the internet securely. Real world data. Makes you wonder, is data a real world asset? If it isn't, well, it should be. But it can connect a wide range of interoperability solutions, which in turn will enable developers to build applications that are multi-chain or cross-chain. Developers will be able to access the value, liquidity, and information of multiple ecosystems through a single deployment. So they're using the key components of Chainlink and the Flare network to ensure that this stablecoin's reserves are backed, as well as the price discovery that you see on the stablecoin is accurate. Again, I can't find a flaw here with this situation. I really can't, guys. But that's the core tool that they're using, and you definitely want to maintain that understanding. Now, there's one more piece to this puzzle that we need to cover. And I found an excellent report, again, on LinkedIn, from a gentleman by the name Jason Hung. Now, as it says in the original press release here, and let's finish this out because it gives us a little bit more information. How will this benefit Flare? The groundbreaking KYC solution positions Flare as a leader in decentralized regulatory compliance solutions, offering significant benefits as it engages early in China's expanding regulated digital asset market. This early involvement secures a first-mover advantage, particularly giving Hong Kong strategic importance as a financial hub, where nearly 50 million annual visitors from mainland China contribute over 10 billion USD to the local economy. This dynamic creates substantial potential for blockchain-based financial services. So, I was going to go back up here and show you where they mentioned the China RealID, powered by Flare and RealDID. Through China RealID will meet KYC compliance while maintaining anonymity. So that's the application that allows people to plug into this stablecoin network without giving up their personal information. Well, see, there's a much bigger plan attached to this DID as well, and that's what we got here. To start, in a significant advancement, and this is back in December 29th, 2023, the Chinese government, supported by Blockchain-Based Services Network, has officially launched the BSN RealDID Digital ID service. This initiative marks the world's first national-level decentralized identity system, aiming to verify the digital identity of China's 1.4 billion citizens using blockchain technology. Again, I believe that because I saw the documentation from the BRICS stating blockchain is not a want, it is a need, ladies and gentlemen. It is a need. Now, the genesis of how this all started, it's a public infrastructure initiative, was jointly established by China's State Information Center, China Mobile, China UnionPay, and RealDID Technologies. This project is an ambitious step to provide developers with a blockchain resource environment, reducing the costs associated with developing, deploying, and maintaining, interconnecting, and regulating blockchain applications. Got a bit ahead of myself there. But you can see the players behind this thing. It is huge. But I bet you want to know when this all is set to start specifically. That's why I like this report, because it gives it to us right here. BSN acknowledges that the implementation of RealDID across China's vast population will be gradual. The initial target is to issue 5 million RealDIDs over the next year through various pilot projects. As of now, several large enterprises and government institutions, including Mingxing Bank, Pacific Insurance, China Mobile Internet Company, Henan Broadcasting, and the National Health Commission, have participated in early testing for these applications. And an estimated 5 million official RealDIDs are projected to be generated in these pilots by 2024. So, this is the pilot program that the Flare network has just been incorporated into. It is a large-scale, government-backed, decentralized identity initiative to incorporate as many people as they can onto the blockchain. Now, I understand that scenario may sound scary to some, and I'm not finna attempt to excuse it in any way. But when you're getting into crypto, you will bump into these stories that will make you ask real deep moral questions. They really will. You have to understand what you're investing in. These technologies can be used any way that people see fit. That includes the good and the bad. How I personally feel about this situation is that I'm optimistic that the technology will be used for good and not evil. That's the bottom line there. You can call me crazy, but that's what we're here to see. Ultimately, we're investing because we all have the belief that these assets will contribute to something much bigger. When I read stories like this, I start to see what that much bigger thing is. So with that, guys, that's all I got for this one. Again, thanks for tuning in. Flare and RealDID introduce new decentralized KYC solution with a very young company in Hong Kong looking to make some waves. We can only wait and see what happens from here. And while we do that, I want to remind you, pick up this free PDF, man. It's got all the tools that you need to understand this crazy, wild, wild west of crypto. I still think it is the wild west of crypto. And outside of that, guys, consider becoming a member of the channel as well. We got tiers starting at 99 cents, $4.99. This is where I share, as you can see, updates on bricks, as well as other, what I like to call top level finance content, things that I discover that make me go, psh, right? It's also another way for us to communicate because members' comments, they go directly to me. So let's take advantage of that. Something I really just discovered, honestly. And outside of that, guys, I got a few affiliate links, which you can access in the pinned comment. They do support the channel. Not a whole lot, but it does help. So I appreciate it. Robinhood is one of them, guys. I'm having fun with Robinhood. They're gold. They allow you to get 4.5% on your cash, as well as Uphold. They're actually doing 4.9% on your dollar stablecoins. But outside of that, Uphold is just the best crypto platform that I've used in the space, hands down. I know Coinbase, they have their own thing. Crypto.com was a bit wonky, but when I landed on Uphold, I didn't leave because it had everything that I needed, and they've only gotten better. So again, link to that will be in the pinned comment. And then if you're new to crypto, the easiest place to buy Bitcoin is Cash App, simply put. And if you want, you can also get some direct deposits in Bitcoin, 5 to 10% of your deposit in Bitcoin. That way, you don't even have to worry about buying it. You can just get money sent to your account. 5, 10% goes straight into BTC and let it sit there. Now, outside of that, you may want to look into a hardware wallet to move that Bitcoin, which you can do easily. That's on you. There's so many hardware wallets in the market. But with that, guys, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.